Hello all, today I'm at the Kabeljous Nature Reserve, situated just to the east of Jeffreys Bay, and this nature reserve occurs between the Kabeljous River that we see in front of us here and the Kabeljous River mouth just to the east. So the Kabeljous Nature Reserve occurs in the Cape Floristic region. It's a region globally renowned for its exceptional species diversity. And specifically, this is the eastern flank of the Cape Floristic region, and in turn this area is known for its high variety of habitats. So the broad area around us sees the meeting points of the subtropical thicket biome, of the fynbos biome, Namakuru biome as well, and also sporadic occurrences of forest and grassland. This region also has a substantially high generic diversity, so the number of plant genera, essentially the kinds of plants. The Kabeljous Nature Reserve is representative of this habitat diversity. It's a fairly small reserve, only about 170 hectares, but there are 5 distinct habitat types within this reserve representing 3 different biomes. So today I'm going to go through these 5 habitats, speak a little bit about its composition, its structure and its context in the landscape. So the first habitat I'll look at is the subtropical thicket, specifically the mesic thicket. So this occurs along the banks of the Kabeljous River on loose stony soil, and its most characteristic species are these incredible arborescent euphorbias. These are Euphorbia triangularis, evoking an almost prehistoric landscape. So mesic thicket is most closely associated with the river valleys of the Eastern Cape. It is also not fire driven, which is something that's actually noteworthy for the Cape Floristic region. As a matter of fact, the ecological workings of this biome is closer to that of a rainforest than fynbos or rhinoceros habitats. Apart from these large succulents like the arborescent euphorbias or these aloes, mesic thicket is dominated by a suite of broad-leaved shrubs of subtropical affinity. An example of those shrubs is the milkwood here, white milkwood, Ozelon inerme, and also Scotia afra, the boerboon, member of the Fabaceae family. And very common in thicket are plants with terrifying defense mechanisms. So this is Azema tetracantha. And now just leaving the mesic thicket habitat, looking at this fairly abrupt boundary with the next habitat we'll discuss, and that's the estuarine habitat, marked by the sea of red in front of us. And that sea of pink is actually a plant. So this is Salicornia. It's a member of the Amaranthaceae family, and like all other plants that we get in this estuarine environment, it's adapted to the ultrasaline conditions. So those are known as halophytes, and there are a few more. I'll have a look around. Just another species we get in the estuarine environment. This is Limonium scabrum, and we also have a member of the Azoaceae family. It's trailing succulent. This is Dysphyma crassifolium. And these grasses in the background are Spirobolus. So they're very common in on the seashore in those ultrasaline environments. Yeah, so these pans are generally dry but do become inundated after periods of rainfall. We had a bit of rain last night, so there are a few puddles around, and quite a beautiful member of the sunflower family just in front of us here, part of the Asteraceae, and this is Gazania regions. Just like the Spirobolus, also a common component on the rocky shores. So I'm heading towards the coast now on the southern part of the reserve. Looking back, I can see the euphorbias of the mesic thicket as well as a part of the estuary there, and just thinking of the remarkable species turnover. So the estuary being, such a specific habitat, it has its own unique suite of species. The same with the mesic thicket. So we're in the Strandveld habitat now, which is on the consolidated dunes of Holocene origin, with also a thicket element. It's actually a mosaic between dune fynbos and dune thicket. And even though it has a thicket element, there's little species turnover with the mesic thicket, we see a new suite of thicket shrubs. Many of these shrubs have a geoxylic habit, so that's an underground tree habit, and that's an adaptation to fire. So when a fire passes through, which it does, like other fynbos habitats, even though probably less frequent than the sandstone fynbos, for example. But in any case, when a fire does pass through, it will knock out the above ground biomass, but there will be underground storage organs, and the tree can resprout after that. So in front of us is the dune olive. This is Olea exasperata. And we also have a hemiparasitic plant of the Abdul-lateef family, the mistletoe family. This is Colpoon compressum. And another geoxylic species. This is the dwarf Cape beech. It's Rapania gilliana, and it is listed as endangered. It occurs only between, for example, Oyster Bay to about Cannon Rocks, and threatened by coastal development and alien invasive plant species, so that's why it's listed as endangered. And also has this geoxylic habit. I think we can see from the dune olive around us that it's almost sprouting all over the place, but this is likely one genetic individual that's just resprouting, not unique individuals. And a very common shrub in the Strandveld habitat, this is candlewood, Pteris cuspidatus, part of the Celestraceae family, which is in turn it's a very diverse family in Strandveld. And now just to look at the fynbos component of Strandveld. Firstly, to look at this buchu. This is Agathosma apiculata, the garlic buchu. And we also have a few restios, an important part of fynbos. There's a couple of species in the Restionaceae family here. This is Restio eleocharis. And in and amongst the fynbos, another resprouting thicket species. This is Euclea racemosa. This plant is in one of my favorite genera from the Achyranthemum genus, previously part of Syncarpa. This is Achyranthemum argentium. One of my favorites because the center of diversity is in the Port Elizabeth region. And one of the most dominant dune fynbos components, Metalasia maricata, the blombos. And now we've reached the Indian Ocean and also our fourth habitat of the day. This is the Cape seashore vegetation of the mobile dune fields of the four dunes right close to the coast, and similar to the estuarine environment, it's a pretty harsh conditions for plants to live. So there's a group of very specialized species that grow here. So the first one we're looking at is Octotheca populifolia, apologies, and it's a part of the Asteraceae family. I believe the common name is the trailing sea pumpkin. We can see those classic Asteraceae flowers, the inflorescence, the capitula. So having a look at those phyllaries as well. You can see this waxy white covering to the leaves, which is fairly common with a lot of the plants growing on the four dunes. Octotheca populifolia. Another dune species here, this is Scaevola plumieri. Just looking for some flowers, specimen with flowers. They have very unique fan-shaped flowers. You can see the fruits over here. Yeah, I don't see any flowers, but you can see the habit of the Scaevola is this trailing habit, similar to the Octotheca, which it's common among a lot of the four dune species here. Here's another species restricted mainly to the mobile dunes. This is Passerina rigida, part of the Thymilaceae family. A Chona species, Passerina. And another species with that trailing habit, this is Gazania regens. We did see this earlier as well near the estuary. And then just a small example of Daisyspermum saffruticosum, part of the carrot family, Apiaceae. Just a few graminoid plants along this section of the four dunes. So in front of us here is a sedge. I believe this to be Phacinia nodosa. part of the Cyperaceae family. There's another cypress here, not sure of the species. And then just in front of us, that Spirobolus grass that we did see earlier. And some more examples of that trailing habit. So this is an interesting species. This is part of the Fabaceae family. It's actually a near threatened species. This is Soralia repens, and you can see that papilionaceous flower characteristic of the Fabaceae family there, and the trifoliate leaves as well. And the fifth habitat of the day is here, and this is Renosterveld. So normally lumped in with the fynbos biome, but can be seen as its own distinct biome in its own right. It's dominated by cuprous shrubs, overwhelmingly Dicerothamnus rhinocerotis, which is Rhinocerbos. So this is human sorb shale Renosterveld. This is an endangered vegetation type. So it occurs completely within the Eastern Cape province, and there's one big stretch from the Gamtos River mouth northwards towards Hankey on Utenake geology, and then also on the Krom River Valley northwards, and that's on the Bokkerveld shales. So it may look pretty drab and homogeneous, but it houses an exceptional amount of species, rivaling fynbos in species diversity, at least on the 100 square meter scale, especially in geophytes and in the Eastern Cape in succulents as well. So there's been a lot of study on Renosterveld in the Western Cape, that's in the Overberg and the Swartland region, but the Renosterveld in the Eastern Cape, especially human sorb shale Renosterveld, is critically understudied. There's still some arguments to the natural state of Renosterveld, like how important is the grass component, and I think questions have arisen whether the agricultural practices historically over the last 200 or 300 years, especially the livestock farming, have meant that Renosterveld has become more shrubby, and its natural state is actually more a shrubby grassland rather than a grassy shrubland as it is now. Nevertheless, this is still an endangered vegetation type, and also quite poorly protected, with a number of endemic species. We have Gasteria armstrongii that occurs here, Citranthus wellandii, which is exceptionally rare, endemic to the Renosterveld habitat, and a few other species in the thicket clumps that we get here, like Gusonia gamtuensis. Just in and amongst the Renosterveld, and then looking down to see some of this diversity. So already here we have a Pelargonium species, actually a threatened Pelargonium species, Pelargonium reniform, and then this is a Hermania, believed to be a Hermania flammea, and we have some Oxalis there as well. So a lot of diversity that's hidden from first sight. Well, that's it from me today. Fantastically diverse reserve, the Kabeljous Nature Reserve. It's been managed currently by a volunteer group called CRAG, the Kabeljous Reserve Action Group, and they've done a fantastic job at invasive clearing and general reserve management. So Acacia cyclops, which is probably the most problematic invasive species on the coast here, has been mostly eradicated from the reserve, and I do believe the current species they're working on is the jointed cactus, Opuntia orontiaca.